I see you pissing. Give it a look.
Diane, can you lead us off in the
I
Pledge
just
of
stole
Allegiance?
Jill.
Yes, I can.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Larry, we're feeding back already, so that's not a good sign.
All right, Larry, set it to the same dial every time.
Somebody plays with it. Somebody probably goes in there and does this with it. All right, I think it's still too loud. Does somebody play with that every day? Why does it get changed? All right, so the first order of business is Suffolk Theater site plan. Mr. Bergman, Mr. Castaldi, Planning Department, who is ever coming up on this, come on up, let's take a look at this. That's something I should be drinking. Coffee ground.
Got my. He's probably working someplace else
Couple
today.
grinds in it. That's the best kind of coffee.
Like campfire coffee.
That's how I normally go camping, that's who park it. Just don't put it on the.
Yeah. Just breathe out, yeah. All right, like that.
I've got another copy if you guys want to split it.
Yeah, put it right there,
put
and
that.
give it down there. Well, they'll give another one.
Oh, they get another one? Give them. Okay.
So, all right, so,
That's okay, I
what
can.
do we have? Does anybody need a copy of the report? You know, let me
Yes,
see
I
the
do.
report, because, did you email, when did?
I emailed it yesterday.
Oh, there you have it.
I have one, so you can have that.
Well, I should take that, because it has.
Do you want the draft?
No, yeah.
Thank
You want that one?
Everyone needs them, because I don't think anybody read them since yesterday. You have this?
I just got it 5 minutes ago.
Me too. Us too. All right, so Greg, go through with what's going on and where we are and how Mr. Castaldi is gonna make this look beautiful.
All right, so good morning, Mr. Supervisor, town board members. What we've got is a site plan to construct an 8-foot stockade fence around an easement area behind the Suffolk Theater. The site plan also proposes to maintain a 576 square foot temporary trailer in the area, which will be used as a green room for the actors of the theater. And it also it shows a 192 square foot shed, which currently exists on the site. The 4.2 acre site is zoned Downtown Center 1. It's currently approved with a 9,300 square foot brick building as a Suffolk theater. 192 square foot shed is located within a construction fence behind the theater. As the site exists right now, the applicant has created a makeshift barrier around the easement area, consisting of railroad ties, 2x4s, rope, and metal barriers. I've got some pictures on page 2 and 3 of the staff report to see how it currently exists. The area adjacent to the proposed fence, immediately behind it and to the east, is public parking area. It's Riverhead Parking District Number 1. The First Congregational Church of Riverhead lies to the west of the proposed fence,
Right.
which will be in this area. Staff review of the site plan for secret purposes was completed July 27th. The action was found to be a type 2 action pursuant to secra. So I'll get into the easement agreement. There's an easement agreement enacted between the town of Riverhead Parking District Number 1 and Pike Realty LLC, which was dated December 8th, 2006. This easement gave Pike Realty an exclusive easement and right-of-way in perpetuity in an area described in a schedule for on a title report behind the theater, which is on the site plan. The easement area is shown in the shaded gray portion.
Who was your attorney that got you that easement? I wanna hire him. No, that's good. That's good for you.
Same one I'm using now.
Okay.
The easement granted the applicant, enabled the grantee to conduct its business as a performing arts center and its commercial residential space at the premises. Specifically, it allowed for a couple of things: landscaping, lighting, fencing, storage, to facilitate deliveries and such. There was language in the easement agreement, the 10th clause of the 2006 agreement, which states that the grantee reserves itself a 4-foot area in width running the entire length of the easement area. I've spoken with the town attorney's office. What that's going to have to result in is the fence will have to be moved 4 feet off of this easement boundary, just to, comply with the agreement of the easement,
On all sides?
just on the eastern portion of the
Okay.
site. So it's, it's a 4 foot by.
If everybody needs an aerial, here's an aerial.
So the site plan indicates a 48 foot by 12 foot temporary trailer that will be situated behind the theater to be used as a green room for the actors. The site plan does not indicate the length of time that the trailer will be there. It does not indicate any utility plans, electric, water, sewer, if there's gonna be any connections. And additionally, it does not provide any details as to the aesthetics of the trailer, what it's gonna look like. Some of the results of the erection of the fence. The parking district itself immediately loses 16 parking spaces within the fenced area. And additionally, to the north of the site, there are 3 spaces which will become smaller, if not rendered unusable. One of the things that the town board should consider is in the area of this fence to the north, whether additional spaces should be eliminated in order to allow traffic to flow around instead of having people come in and just kind of dead end up against the fence. That's something to consider.
And you said that would be a loss of maybe another 6?
Yeah, as many as 6 spots just to allow area, traffic to kind of flow freely instead of getting jammed up. Staff would recommend that if the board approves the site plan, a covenant be filed by the applicant stating that he'll maintain the fence if broken panels or graffiti or anything like that, that the fence shall be maintained.
The only thing that gets me is, this cuts off the church, for their garbage collection and other stuff, and their walkway between the garage and the church.
John, we
Is there
provided,
anything we can do with that?
well, we provided, I already spoke to the church. We are going to put their dumpster next to our dumpster within our fence. We use the same company, so they'll simply come into our area. We'll
They'll have
provide-
access through the gate
Yeah,
here then
so
to come
this
in.
would be our dumpster, this
Right.
would be their dumpster right next to it, and we're putting a gate here so that they can
They can
co-
access
they
it.
can actually come out, and it's probably easier for them. And when the truck comes in to pick up, he just simply backs up, and he can pick up both as easily as he
Because
can
I was
pick
just
up.
looking at that, and I
Covenant to
said,
that?
that-
Would you accept a covenant to that effect, that the church could keep their dumpster on the property in perpetuity?
I can't do that, because eventually, our plans was to push out the back of the theater and put a real true support area here. Right now, we're dealing with a stage, which we had to work with, it's only 10 foot. We wanna push the back wall, that was always our intention. I have plans that were drawn up 10 years ago, but everybody knows what happened with that. I don't wanna go into old history, but that stage needs to go back approximately 20-25 feet. And we need to put a real green room, a real support area, tour
So
operators.
until you do
office-
that, you would do a
Until-
license or something?
Until we do it, I made arrangements with them. We're looking, we're looking to make things better here, not worse. So I took it upon myself to go over to the church and say, listen, right now where your dumpster is, it's awkward, it's easy, we'll put it right next to ours.
now, what about when you move yours? You're gonna have to move yours eventually.
Eventually, we're gonna have to figure
My
out
cell phone.
what to
Could
do
they,
with it.
could you take theirs with you, and wherever you put yours, put theirs, not on this side of the building, but on this side of the building?
Well, we have no place to put it on the side of the building, because we have, to the west of us, we have the attorney's office, and to the east of us, we've got the alleyway, which we have to keep open. The alleyway is only 8 feet wide.
Right.
So we can't do anything with it. It's a problem that I'm sure once we start designing.
That alleyway used to be a park. I don't know what happened to it. Years ago, it was a park.
It's been
And
that way.
yes,
It's been that way since I got here.
No.
It's been that way for 12
If
years.
you look at the film,
Oh,
of the, 50 years ago, people were sitting there in the park there. I don't know what happened to it after
Oh, look
that.
at that.
Does the agreement allow for permanent structures and expansion of the theater? Because this paragraph that I'm reading right here, it doesn't specify.
Yeah,
that.
Well, not your alleyway, excuse, church alleyway.
I spoke with Mr. Kozakevich
Church
about the
alleyway.
language of it, and he was he was kind of the opinion that the easement allows for the furtherance and the operation of the Performing Arts Center in, you know, whatever capacity that may be.
As it says, for pedestrian ramp to provide for handicapped and pedestrian access, for the placement of necessary mechanical equipment, utility meters, delivery parking, loading, dumpsters, temporary trailers, non-habitable, for performers' equipment, fountains, installation of landscaping, lighting, fencing, signage, storage, freestanding awnings, and for deliveries to and from to the theater.
Correct.
So, and he is.
I did look at the language in there where it did say temporary trailers non-habitable. I kind of got hung up on that for a moment.
But
the
that's
town
not the easement area, the trailer's not going in the easement area.
Correct. The other thing is just,
Where is the trailer going?
the trailer's going here, this is the
He
easement.
owns this.
Okay, that's the easement area.
This is the
Got it.
easement area.
Got it.
The other thing which maybe John remembers is that 4-foot easement was to leave you guys a 4-foot easement over the sidewalk in the alley. It never meant or is supposed to extend past the walkway. That was, remember that, John? The whole reason to give you that 4 foot was from here to here. Once that sidewalk stopped, so did the easement. So everything pretty much north of the back of the theater, there is no easement. And if you
No,
read it,
but that was because of the building you were gonna put
that
up.
was because of the building. So this fence is correct of where it was supposed to be.
Okay, so I'm gonna throw it out, and I don't want you to get all upset, but you're gonna be. I don't have a problem with what you're doing here. I don't want this fence going up around the easement area. You're gonna look terrible. If you wanna do a really nice, one of those fake wrought iron fences and make it look nice and put plantings and flowers and stuff, then I wouldn't have a problem. But I wouldn't, Bob, I just am not gonna support.
It's cost prohibitive for us to put up a fence, a wrought iron fence with planting.
Then leave it alone until you have your the rest of your plans done.
But we need that space for special events.
I have no
It's
problem
limiting us in what
Bob,
we
I
can
have
do
no
and what we
problem
can't do.
during your special events that you cordon the area off. But when you don't have the special events, I don't think it's too much to ask for that fence not to be put up. I wouldn't have a problem with you putting a fence around the property you own, but going out into the easement area in that fashion, you and I have had this conversation. I don't support that. If you want to fence off, just do this area, you own it, I think that's fine. The idea of a stockade, not a stockade fence, but a nice wooden picket fence would be what I think we would want. Until you're ready to do what you have to do there, I'd rather just use fence with a nice picket fence or, not a wrought iron fence, but those aluminum ones. If that's too expensive, considering you're gonna take it down, a picket fence, a 4-foot picket fence or something that would look nice back there, I would be fine with.
We would have a hard time putting up a 4-foot picket fence. If we're doing special events back there, and you're spending a lot of money, you don't want people looking into your event. We need the privacy. We need the
But
8
you're not,
feet.
you're not showing anything, well, what kind of special events are you gonna have in a hot parking lot?
People have asked us numerous times, and we have lost valuable business because they want to put a tent up there. If somebody comes in and they do a corporate function or they do a wedding, which is what really keeps this theater alive, we've lost a tremendous amount of business because we have not been able, we didn't even have the money. We have not been able to provide that with them where they can have their cocktail hour or their event outside and then come in for the event that they're there for.
So again, I don't have a problem with you doing that in the area that you own. The easement area, I don't think was supposed to be designed for you to be doing weddings. I know it's not a easement that's really in favorable to the town, but I think that was supposed to be the transition zone to the building, the entrance.
It was a buffer zone.
Right.
But there is nothing that I see that limits us. Where we can put a fence, to fence in our property, the same way that everybody else is allowed to fence in that
It's
property.
not your property, it's an easement area.
It's
That's
an
the
easement to
difference.
put a fence up on. I'm
I'm
not
not-
putting a building up on it.
Bob, I love you to death, I wanna move this quickly, I wanna get the
So-
thing
so do
done. I will support you putting a fence around the property you own, not here until you're gonna landscape it, do all the nice things that you're, cause if you're gonna have a corporate area where you're gonna put up a fence or a tent or something, you're gonna have to landscape it, break up the concrete, make it look, or asphalt, make it look nice. You're not at that stage yet,
And we will do that within the confines of that fence.
but that has to be part of the site
Well,
plan.
that was my question, are you gonna take the asphalt and play grass?
We don't
What-
know.
what's
what-
your
we're-
intention?
We're taking one step at a time. Right now, our intention, and our biggest problem is, in a very short time, we've been evicted from the green room. And we have no place to put the axe. So, we are running out of time very quickly. And the reason that we don't know the size of the trailer is because we've got 4 people working on this. There are no trailers. So we don't know if it's gonna be 10 by 45 or if it's gonna be 12 by 50. We will be happy once one comes available to take pretty much whatever we've got. So there's a couple of unknowns. The only thing that I do know is, we have no place to put axe, no axe. It's hard to run a theater with no axe.
So can we, and this is why I get back to, since you're not ready to do everything that you wanna do in that back parking lot, can we do this as a site plan basically for this, and then when you're ready to do the rest, because you're not gonna be allowed to put up bushes and shrubs and break up the asphalt or concrete without telling us what you're gonna do there, and you're not saying anything but putting up a fence, so you're not ready for that. I'll move it through, assuming I'm here, as expeditiously as possible, but I think you should concentrate on taking down that barrier, maybe putting a nice wooden fence up around the property you own, and just figuring out the trailer, because we can't even really approve it till we know the sewer hookup, the electrical, all this other stuff. I mean, can we? Guys?
Well, the trailer has to meet the it has to meet the wind code, it would probably have to go to the Architectural Review Board and landmarks, seeing as it's in a National Historic District. So,
Even
There's-
if it's within sight of an 8-foot fence?
well,
We'll get by those
We
parts.
will.
We'll get by
See
those
it.
parts.
we will, but, you know, we gotta know what it's gonna look like, and the dumpsters are gonna be enclosed, right? On the site plan, do you have the dumpsters enclosed?
They're not shown in a.
Because the
I-
overall area will be
I believe the overall area is
enclosed?
enclosed, so the site
Okay.
plan doesn't indicate any obscuring for the dumpsters specifically.
That's one of many that we've researched.
I mean, it's temporary, we'd wanna know how long temporary would be. It's not, and that would probably, help you through the ARB,
Yes.
and, we knew it was gonna be like a 2-year temporary trailer with the intention, I'm just making up a timeframe. Bob, Mike, and we've had this conversation, if you could work on this until you can figure out the rest of this, we can move this quickly, as soon as you know the trailer, the hookups to sewer. I don't know, I mean, there's sewer there, is there a way to hook it up?
Yes, I already spoke to,
Sewer was
I have
out
it as
here,
last
right,
name,
somewhere?
It was like 70
And
feet.
Yeah,
from the edge of the
off,
property.
right.
the high point is right behind the church.
Right.
We calculated we need a 10-inch drop to over here, because the high point is back here, and it starts running east and west from what is the high point.
That's an expensive piece of, so you have,
This whole thing's been expensive.
do you have to pump it up to the high point?
No, gravity is on our side. We've got it
Okay.
from
That's good.
approximately from the trailer to the sewer, we've got approximately a 10-inch drop.
Okay.
Are you
Which is
buying the
fine.
trailer, or are you gonna be leasing the trailer?
They are expensive, we are leasing it,
Okay.
if we can find one.
So, for expedition, to expedite this, Bob, I really would like you to try to not focus on the fence till you know how to make that area beautiful with the trees and the plantings. And just focus on, let's get the trailer in, let's get it hooked up, let's, if you wanna fence your existing property, I think that's fine.
Well, I have to fence it in, or else we're gonna have people coming back there in the middle of the night,
Yep.
throwing crap in the dumpster,
Mhm.
going through that trailer. I mean, you know,
I get it.
you know, we got a security problem.
Oh, no, you can fence,
Yeah.
he's saying you can fence that area in. That can be
I
fenced
would
in.
fence what you own
Fence on
and
the
then,
own, right around.
and then
Just
come,
one thing he brought up at
Over
planning
here?
session was, he
Well, why can't
needed
you go out to the?
to fence out here, because bringing a tour bus in here, if he fences off here, I don't know if you're gonna have enough room
It's not.
to swing and move the tour bus through without having it out here.
We have we have performers that come
Yeah,
in
but he's
there
gonna drill
with
here,
tour
so he
buses that
He
are
can
the
fence
size
this
of
area
tractor
in,
trailers.
the trailer
I
secure.
mean, these guys
Yeah,
are on
he
the
can
road,
keep that trailer.
they've done, you know, they're successful, and, you know, some of these tour buses are north of $1 million, and they're big. You
And
know?
that's why the entrance was put out here, so they could swing in, and they could either then either back out or possibly make
Turn
it out
around and pull
through
in.
here.
And sometimes we have, you know, we have tour bus, and then
Uh-huh.
sometimes we have to bring in equipment that we're taking out at the end of the night, organs, you know, we've had all kinds of stuff in
I
there.
get it. I'm not happy about a stockade fence, so you've gotta come up with something that looks a whole hell of a lot nicer than a stockade fence.
Well, I mean, before we
Or
even bought the
just
fence, I
let it-
asked if I can put up an 8-foot stockade fence, and now I've got approximately $8,000 of stockade fence sitting in that yard, waiting to go up.
Told you my opinion, I'm not gonna, it's
But
not.
but I understand that. We need the 8-foot solid fence for security, and if we have special events back there, and you're paying a tremendous amount of money for that theater, and to put up a tent, you don't want people milling around looking through a picket fence at your event.
Okay, then I would want you, Leland cypress is my favorite sort of weedy green tree, then I would want you to move the fence in,
Yes.
break up the asphalt and surround the fence with, bushes. That'll make
outside
it
of
look
the
a lot
fence.
nicer.
And I looked at those Leyland cypresses.
I don't know if you're allowed to plant
And
the
that,
proper
and
weeds.
whatever they are, it's gonna cost you approximately $100 to $150 a tree. Because I'm not a young guy, I can't get trees this big, so I need high trees, so you're paying $150, I'm taking a guess, to $200 a tree. I've got over 300 feet, that's 100 trees. Break it up, put good dirt back there, because it's all sand. You do the math on it, there's no way in the world that we can do that cost effectively.
Okay,
It
what does
doesn't.
the
Can
board
you-
say about this? Cause I mean, this is not,
I don't wanna argue with
Really
you, but
unattractive
I've been down this road trying to solve this problem, that's what I do, and it's a problem.
Can you do planter boxes outside of the fence in order to buffer the fence in that area? Just build planter boxes and put soil in it, and then you can plant the trees in there?
If you do planter boxes, they're very expensive to build.
You could build
You're talking about hundreds of feet, then you have to put in a sprinkler system to take care of the planter
I
boxes.
know, but Bob, you get the
You
idea.
lose,
I mean,
you lose 3 feet of the property all the way around.
You've done such a beautiful job with the theater. I
Oh,
mean,
thank
it
you.
is the landmark in downtown Riverhead, without a doubt. And it's such a beautiful place, and we are just trying to keep downtown looking beautiful. And we get so many complaints from people that are, you know, looking at the back of the building, or looking at what the Architectural Review Board is approving, or the Landmarks Preservation Commission is approving. And I just tell you that that's gonna be under a lot of scrutiny, so anything that you can do to try and make the appeal of this carve-out of the parking lot look nicer for when people come to where they don't even know that your area is back there. And I think that's your intent and your goal also, is so that people don't know what's going on back there. And if you just have a fence, people are gonna get curious, they're gonna look over. But if you have a fence with some sort of planting system on the outside of it, and you could do a trickle system in the planter box, cause you've got water coming out of the building, and you're gonna need water going to the trailer. So you know, a trickle system hanging on the fence that's cut, going through into the planter boxes.
These are all great ideas, but.
I know, they cost
But they
money.
cost money.
Yeah,
They
but there's-
cost a lot of money. I can, listen, if I was designing this for somebody else, I could turn that back into a palace if you
But-
gave me $1 million.
But have you
But the
explored
problem is, we
any,
don't have it.
but have you explored any grant opportunities? Have you spoken to the Riverhead Garden Club about something that you might be able to do back there? Or maybe even the East End Arts to try and bring some appeal to the fence? You know, something that's, it's not just a fence that's carved out of the parking lot. Because security is your concern, and people will look over the fence. They'll park right next to it, they'll get on their cars, they'll look over to see what's going on there. I think that, I agree with Sean with the planting buffer around the outside of the fence. Move the fence in, you know, a few feet and see what you can do.
Or just, or go it for now, let's get what you really have to get done, immediately done. And when the not-for-profit gets going, we'll get you moving as quickly as we humanly can.
And there's grant money, there's gotta be grant money for this. So, I think that, have you spoken to the Community Development Agency Director about any possible grant opportunities? Especially for streetscapes or landscaping and things like that, they might be out there.
No, we've been scrambling, and if there's a grant out there, by the time that grant comes through, we're done.
Yeah, no, we,
Okay.
We're done.
we appreciate that.
What's this distance here?
We're not going to leave you, hang you out to dry, but there's gotta be,
Well, this is what I understand. If there's an 8-foot fence here, and an 8-foot fence here, and an 8-foot fence there, what's the big deal to put the 8-foot fence where it belongs, 23 feet further up?
Because I'm not sure
It's
that's
the same
where it
fence.
belongs. I'm not, honestly, my opinion of that easement area was that was going to be the entrance to your building. It wasn't gonna be completely blocked off, it would be trees and shrubbery and make it look nice as the entrance to
And
that
that
building.
is,
The fence is not
that is the eventual goal, to do that. Whenever that happens, that is our goal, to put the building up here and to use this to
As a
make a
beautiful
drop,
entrance.
to make a beautiful entrance with a fountain, with gardening, and a drop-off area and a buffer zone between the parking lot to make the transition from there to then what will be a even bigger and better theater. That's the whole reason to do that.
I got that, the fence makes no sense to me at this point in time.
Well, the fence makes sense to us
Has he gone to the
because
parking district?
we can
What's that?
utilize
Has the
that
parking
property
district
to
seen
keep
No.
this theater going. That's why it makes
They
sense
own
to
it.
us.
He has an
All
easement.
right. I don't- What does the board wanna do with it? I mean, you're not ready for approval because you don't know, we have to have the trailer, we have to have the electrical, we have to have the, you need the fire ratings, you need the septic.
And the parking
can't
district
approve anything
owns the
till we have it.
property. So the parking district gave you an easement to be able to use the property also, as well as the parking district. And by putting up this fence all the way around, you're blocking out the owner of the property, which is the parking district. And I just asked Tim, who's the liaison to the parking district, and he said that this hasn't even gone to the parking district yet.
No, that actually, I mean, being that it's an easement, would that require an owner's endorsement from the parking district?
I would think so,
I don't think so.
Bob?
because an easement gives you the right to use the property, but it doesn't exclude the property owner from using it also.
I'm not an attorney, but my understanding is that,
They have a pretty exclusive easement on it, but the
No.
purpose of the easement was for what Bob said, fountain, landscaping, beautiful entrance to the building.
Right,
not-
which the parking district at the time
and,
probably didn't have a
and once
problem with that.
once we do start any kind of construction back there, I do need that 8-foot fence around that whole thing.
And we get that because you're gonna be in a construction mode, and we do that all the time.
Right.
But you're not there. And that's why I'm saying, Bob, if you could see your way clear to doing, at the very most, fencing when I don't even like you fencing the property you have, but fencing the property you have, we don't have a problem with you blocking off parts of the parking lot nobody's ever stopped you from doing that, to park buses and things like that, but we really want it to look better than just a stockade fence that's gonna kinda look like a dumpster enclosure, ginormous dumpster enclosure. I mean, it's not gonna be the most appealing thing, and I'd rather concentrate on getting the buildings and all the other stuff hooked up and not worry about the fence issue until you have the larger plan. because the large, anything you do back there needs approval from us,
It's probably
for a site plan, so.
Yeah, well, he owns this
You know, if you're gonna
probably
break up concrete, asphalt,
here.
it's probably all,
What's it?
not concrete parking lot, it's
That's a
probably
little
asphalt.
plant- there's a little
And do
island right there.
plantings,
Yeah.
that's all stuff that we
Little
approve,
He could
that's
put
part of the
tents
site
up in
plan.
here.
Right now, we
I
just
mean,
want
there's a decent
put-
amount of area, yeah, there,
Hey,
absolutely.
Bob?
if people wanna rent the theater for a special event, all we want is that, so that if they so desire, and that's part of making a deal and doing business, the ability, which we haven't had, to put up a tent on the asphalt. That's
Bob.
all I'm looking for.
On your
Why
property,
don't
On-
you,
On the property,
on your
why
property,
don't,
on,
because
on-
the easement
on
doesn't
this-
say that you could have the tents.
well, I think the easement is that we can't put a permanent building up, but I'm not an attorney and I don't know
I
what it
see,
really means.
I see awnings, I see, performance equipment, fountain, installation of landscaping, lighting, fencing, signage, storage, freestanding awnings.
I
and
think
for
you-
deliveries.
You get the general idea, it's
Yeah.
not a building, it's things.
Bob.
We couldn't tell you.
why can't you work with us? I'm looking at this map that
I'm
you
trying,
gave
John.
me.
I'm
Yes, wait,
trying,
wait.
believe
I'm
me.
looking at this map. If you put the fence up on your property, right across here, take this island out,
Right,
you could still put a tent up in here and use this for people parking out here. You, even planting, you could put plantings up here and just have an alleyway for cars to come in and buses to come in. I mean, you know, sometimes if we work together, we get more accomplished than if we fight each other.
John, I'm not looking to fight anybody.
No, but I mean, no, but I'm just saying that, you know, it's.
I'll fight for
it's
what
a
I
comp-
think is mine, you
It,
know?
it's a compromise, that's all I'm trying to say.
All right.
For temporary compromise, I think this area here is enough, even on the side here, just on that, the side, you could put a tent and have what you want there, and help us out by putting plantings around here, so no public parking can be in there.
I'll
And-
take
and
a,
look at that, will
no,
you?
I will take a look at that if, I've gotta ask our event planner, who knows a whole lot better than I do, what people have been
Okay.
asking for.
Okay,
I honestly can't, you
Well,
know,
that's
she's the
all-
one that deals
yeah.
with them every day.
yeah, that's all I can ask for.
If she says, listen, we, you know, that's more than enough, nobody's gonna be able to pay for a tent that big, then, yeah, maybe that's the answer. We'll fence this off and we'll put something
And
over there,
Yeah, I mean, you know,
that we can
Just to
still
see-
use it. We
Right.
can-
You
but
can
some-
use it for the parking, you're gonna be parking people anyway, so.
sometimes we, well, like I said, when we have an act, or if they bring in their own people, sometimes they wanna operate the whole sound system. They don't even wanna use our people. You know, we've got a lot of people that need to park right there.
And I think you've probably cordoned off the areas before, I'm assuming, to get the buses and stuff in. So we
Well,
would not.
what we've been doing is we've been parking the bus, and, cause nobody parks in the handicap area. So that's, I think they don't. So that's, you know, we've been dumping.
Luckily, you own it.
No, we've been dumping a bus there, or we've been dumping a bus sometimes in front of the gym or behind our fence
Mhm.
and block that off. So it's, I mean, we've been able to kinda work around it, but.
All right, I don't know, I'm not gonna, what's the consensus of the board? What do you guys wanna see?
I wanna wait until he comes back and,
Well, he doesn't have a lot of time, so.
I don't have a lot of time.
We gotta make a
You know, if you
decision.
want, I'll run out and come back in 15 minutes, but.
you know, and
I mean,
find out,
That's, you know.
you know, his question before I make a decision.
Well, that's why I said the easiest thing is to forget about the fence for now, do the site plan for the trailer and the hookups, and then let's worry about, because we can do the site plan for the trailer and hookups like immediately, subject to sewer, blah, you know, set the
Well,
public hearing.
Can I make a suggestion then? I need a quick answer on this fence now because I got a problem, all right? If we hook this up, we're gonna be tearing this all up anyway, digging this up to get to the sewer line, which is right about here.
Oh, yeah, I would put
Let's
the
get-
pipes in so you don't have to rip it up again.
Well,
Rip it up once.
if we ever put a building back there, that whole area's getting torn up. Right now, for pipe, we're going down a foot or two. we put in a foundation back there. The stage is 6.5, 7 feet below grade. So we're going down at least that far with it, and then to put down a footing down below that, we're down 8, 9 feet back there. Everything's getting torn out
So-
eventually.
Why would you connect the trailer now if it's a temporary trailer? Why wouldn't you just use the temporary capacity and have it pumped out?
Well.
When people use it.
The problem is, we thought about that and having it pumped out. But somebody said to me, if you get a leaky toilet or a leaky faucet, because that really doesn't get used until Friday and Saturday, and that tank is full, and you've got a 14 people act, and no bathroom and no shower because
That could be
somebody left the
problematic.
faucet on, or the toilet was dripping, all during the week, and now you got a full tank. You're not getting anybody on a Friday night at 6, 7 o'clock to pump it out.
Now you'll be calling us.
Yeah, we got a problem, so I figured better be safe than sorry and do something that's a little more reliable.
He asked me a question. I don't mind the whole fence, 'cause it's only 20, you're looking at it now, it looks like a lot of area, but you own a lot of that. It's only 23 feet behind your property.
Right.
And that's not much. It's taking up 8 parking stalls. It'll take up about 12, let's see, on this side.
About
I'll
20
go
feet.
along with that.
What's the scale?
But I want you to see if you can compromise with us.
Well,
I would love that a lot better
This
than
is
just putting the fence
78.
up.
Well, what I would do is I'd
Around
put
it,
the
yeah.
8-foot
30?
fence on here
These are 10s.
and then put
So
a
it's like 50
temporary
feet.
smaller fence.
Okay.
Over there, all right? And at least we solve the emergency at hand.
So something, you'd put like a 4-foot picket fence around the parking area and then
Around,
the stockade.
a low fence and do something back there with it. And then,
So
at
it's
least
a
I can come
transition.
back and then revisit this with you at a later date. Right now,
But would you
This is
accept
the
a
problem.
4-foot picket fence around, what would be your parking area as a transition before you got to your 8-foot stockade fence?
yeah, that's what I'm saying, a fence
Yeah.
over here.
But if, I'm saying a 4-foot picket fence, if people can look over, that's your parking area.
Right. As long as I can figure out how to get a tour bus in there and out of there, but, yeah.
Yeah.
And I've gotta make a scale of a little tour bus and play with it.
Yeah, because you'd have to
Yeah, but
gate
why
this,
wouldn't
put
you-
another gate in here.
Why wouldn't you
There were
do it
actually
by-
tents up, you
The,
don't put
the
a tour
fire
bus in
district
there.
wanted larger gates anyway, so if we could fit a fire truck in there, I'm sure
Yeah,
you could fit a tour.
20 foot.
I believe it said,
20
yeah,
This
20-foot
is
swing
your,
gates.
the area that
Okay,
you own,
back
right?
there, all right, all I gotta do is just push that
Oh, no,
over.
he
But
wants
the-
to hear.
excuse me, the fire service is also concerned about access to the rear of the law offices as well as the church on this side. The current sidewalk that's here, trying to get firefighters in gear with their equipment back down into here would be problematic. The chief would like to see an 8-foot gate in here so that he can bring a truck in here, and then his personnel can get around to the other side of the church as well as to the lawn.
Can I give you an 8-foot gate somewhere in here?
Um,
Over here?
Well, how they gonna get back there anyway?
Well, that's the problem, once they put the
Run-
fence
run
up,
right back.
they can,
Responding to an emergency here,
No,
Right.
that's what I'm saying. How are they gonna?
If you went with an
currently,
8-foot
they
Yeah,
can
that's
pull
what
in
I'm
here
saying.
No, I
and
get
get his
that, but
ladder
if he's
truck,
got the,
right, so if they
It
leave
doesn't go
a
anywhere though. It
gate
doesn't, I
here,
don't
they
think that
can pull
goes.
a truck in
Where
here,
this-
whether
yeah,
it's a
this
ladder
goes
truck
straight
and a
through.
pumper,
Between
and then with an 8-foot gate
access
here,
is a
that
little
allows
more-
that personnel
Can't get a
access.
truck in there.
I mean, the comments were they did want a 20-foot gate in this area, they wanted this striped,
but
because
he's
of no
coming out
parking
here, so
fire
this
lane.
whole area anyway,
There were
right?
some details on the gates which
Why is
they
the
needed to
line
be,
going
like,
that?
open
And this
completely
one.
onto themselves, so
Yeah,
they
no,
wouldn't
that's what
pose any
this
kind
does.
of.
I got a 16-foot
Right.
gate.
It
It's
needs
not
to be
big.
20 feet.
Yeah, it's not a
because
big-
It's not
Oh,
wide.
No,
enough for-
it's not a big deal just to make it a 20.
if you could
Yeah,
put
just
anything here.
so the fire department can get in case of emergency.
Oh, yeah, no,
Or an ambulance.
whatever
you know.
the code is,
Yeah.
we'll do it. I had a 16-foot, if you need another 4 feet, it's
Okay.
one heck of a gate.
And then what do? You put a lockbox on the
Yeah,
outside of
we
that,
have
or?
they would put a Knox lock on it, where the fire chief has a key to that lock and he can open it. What we do is, we generally interlock them with whatever lock Mr. Castaldi would use, so that his personnel can lock and unlock the gate when they need to. The gate's locked and the fire department needs to get in, they unlock their lock and they can get in.
So you share your Knox box with the
The Knox lock.
property
Yeah.
owners?
No, he would have to purchase one that's keyed for Riverhead Fire District.
Right, no,
and
I
puts
know
it on
that.
Yes. then
And but I thought you said that his employees would be able to have
No,
access to that
we-
also.
His lock, he would have a lock, and then we have the Knox lock.
Okay.
Generally, what we do is we interlock them so that you can remove either lock and gain access.
We have the same thing we have in the front of the
Yeah,
theater.
that's a Knox lock, it
Right.
works with the same
So the
key,
same-
but
same
this is a
system.
padlock.
Same system in
Yeah,
the back.
this would be a padlock on
It's
the rear.
amazing how they can do that.
So the fire department would be able to, would be the only one that would be able to access the
Only
Knox
Riverhead
lock?
Fire
You see
Chiefs or
4 or
fire
5
marshals.
locks.
Okay, because I would fear
Amazing.
that the property owner had access,
yeah.
then the key would get taken out, or not,
No, no,
someone
no,
forgot to
no,
put it
only-
back, or, okay.
They have the key to the key.
So,
Got it.
let's focus on so the fire's gonna want no parking all the way in here, so they have access to the back of the
So
building.
they can,
So you wouldn't be able to put a tent up or anything in a 20-foot lane.
So now we're down to
Yeah,
starting to
I mean,
get a little
they'd have
bit,
to-
starting to
Well,
get a
that's
little
why
smaller.
That's why we do site plan, that's what you're here for.
Now it's
So
starting to get a little
that's-
smaller.
that's-
So now can I have my fence over here?
Yeah, if you put all the beautiful landscaping and everything in here and put the fence inside, absolutely, Bob. And we want it to look not like,
All right, let's start with small pieces. I'm not looking, I'm looking to solve my problem right now, where do we put the performers and keep this theater up
that's
and
why
going?
I said to you,
That's what I'm trying to
the
solve
site
right
plan
this
should
second.
just be this right here. That's what I've said to you from day one.
We'll put a fence up here, we'll put a smaller fence up
Yeah,
here.
right.
We'll give you the 20-foot over there. We'll give you an 8-foot gate over here.
all right, yeah,
Yeah,
when you're
you're
ready to
gonna
do
do
it, let me know and
You're
we'll
gonna
come out
have to
with
do
the
the
Lay it
plan,
out,
make sure he's good with
lay it
that.
out wherever he wants.
Thank you.
If you can just keep in mind, we wanna try to keep the dumpsters back
All right.
there so that they're not in the way of everything else.
I think the best thing to do is see if we can give us a rendering of what this will look like when everything gets finished. I mean, looking at this, we can pretend we know what it's gonna look like, but we really don't.
It's gonna look like an 8-foot fence.
No. Yeah, but
That's
we,
what I'm afraid of.
huh?
It's
See?
gonna
but-
look like just about any other stockade
So
fence.
is a requirement gonna be a 20-foot fire lane in here that you're not gonna be able to put any permanent structures up? Is a tent a permanent structure?
If it would, the tent would be temporary, but the problem is we just need to make sure that it's staked and all, we've got that
So you have that
20 feet,
20-foot
so
open.
that an engine can, or
Yeah,
a ladder truck can get pulled past and firefighters can.
It's only temporary.
Did they change it
Until a
because
building
when we
goes up and
originally,
then-
Well,
And
then
now
you
we do
gotta
something
do
else.
it, you know,
my
eventually
original
away.
drawings from 10 years ago, we had a 12-foot.
Well, it's,
The apparatus has gotten
yeah,
larger.
apparatus
okay,
has
so
gotten
they
larger. and
changed the code.
It's, yes, it's
'Cause
not
we did have
20
it-
feet for an apparatus.
Yeah, if you look at our original plans, we had
Every-
a 12-foot.
Yeah, they've been changing, apparatus has gotten larger.
That's
The
why we're,
requirements are-
that's why there's all these
Five-story
applications in for
Yes.
firehouses to get bigger, because the smaller apparatus doesn't fit in there anymore.
All right, what else do we have to have from a technical standpoint? Why don't you speak to the fact that
We're treating it, for fire code purposes, we're treating it like a permanent thing, because we have to make sure, this theater serves over 1,000 people, which I don't know what your numbers are, I guess it depends on the event, sometimes they are, sometimes they aren't. With 1,000 people, we need 4 legitimate exits from the theater, so we have 1, 2, 3, this 4th one is serving as an exit, so it makes it a little bit of problematic to share the performers are not gonna be sharing with the general exit. That's fine, but we still might need this for emergencies, so as long as this
Might or
emergency
will.
can get out.
Well, we spoke about this, that we originally, when we were gonna put up this building, we were blocking that off. And unless things have changed.
I was before my time,
Yeah,
Bob.
no,
I remember
know,
you
but-
mentioned it to me,
yeah,
and I said I'd
Yeah, I know
look
you
into
didn't
it,
know,
but I
no,
don't have, yeah.
yeah, but I mentioned that at one time, and I know I didn't ask for an answer. We originally were blocking that off because we were putting up the building. We did the math on it, that all the distances between this exit, and the 6 doors in the front were more than enough to satisfy.
But the code does require
code.
that when you're over 1,000 people, that you need to have 4 separate
Let's
exits,
con-
so that if
it-
anyone
I
gets
think for
blocked,
the-
they
We'll
can
keep
get
it,
out
I mean,
another.
I know what we may have, but logistically, I don't think I'd ever want more than 700 people in there.
I think for the purposes of, this has to be worked out with an architect, and we'll have to go over
We'll-
those
we'll
numbers.
work
But
over
for the
that.
purposes of the site plan, we didn't wanna get too in the weeds in this.
Yeah.
This is to be determined whether or not we need this as an emergency escape, or if it can be,
But even if,
Locked off.
even if it's an emergency escape right now, we're not closing it off now if we ever do
Correct.
the building, because we'll have a door here, so you still have.
we
use
need
of it.
the people have to be able to get 50 feet away from the building, so as long as this is not encumbered and they can
No.
come through here and get through a crash gate and then get away from the building,
That's,
it would still function.
that, it'll still be functional.
But again, it's for the, it doesn't really change the site plan. What he wants to do, we can make work.
Okay.
But how does that work for egress if the gate's locked, because he doesn't want people back there?
Like, you can have crash bars where they're locked from entry,
Okay.
but you can,
Okay.
panic bars, you can tie
Same
them
thing
off.
that we
Got
have
it.
on, the same thing that we have on the doors right now.
Got it, okay.
And for the, because it is a
Well, I
temporary
didn't know, because they were
trailer.
talking about keys and, you know,
No, it's on the outer gates,
That's
but
for this gate back here.
okay.
I just wanna make sure, that alleyway was an alley, I was talking about next to the church, on the other side of the church. That used to be a park.
Oh, yeah.
For water, sewer, health department, he's proposing a temporary thing that it can be pumped out. If it becomes more permanent, that's up to you, I don't know.
Let me ask you a question, what's the maximum capacity of that theater? You know offhand, I thought it was under 900.
No, I believe it's over 1,000, I believe.
You think it's over
I'd
1,000?
have to go back and look, but I
Yeah.
believe the paperwork we got on it was somewhere around
Yeah.
maybe 11 or,
That was the
Something
math
like
that the architect came up, but the reality is, I mean, we've had on SantaCom and some other events, once it gets more than 700 people, I start getting nervous. It's too many, you know, I don't wanna limit myself, but,
right,
you know, we've
A
had
lot of people.
700 people in there,
a
and
lot of
after a
people to
while,
put in there.
you know, it becomes a problem, bathrooms and people, and just, it's,
All right, let's go back to the hookups. So if we're hooking it up to the sanitary system, does it not become a temporary structure?
Not necessarily. Temporary structure is all about how long it's there. You can hook up you have to provide something. You can hook it up, that doesn't kick it into being permanent,
Does it have to go to the health department if it's temporary?
not if it's temporary.
So what's temporary, 2 years?
Well, wouldn't it have to go to the health department if they're hooking up?
Not if it's temporary. If it's the sewer, this is not a permanent addition to the building, it's not a new building, it
temporary.
doesn't have to go to the health
it's got
department.
wheels.
The
and it
sewer
moves.
district allows a
Well,
hookup.
that's part of the problem
Temporary.
too, because even, I mean, I don't know about the hurricane requirements, if it's there for any length of time,
All
Brad.
that stuff is based on if it's temporary or not.
So we need a time frame because it's not gonna be 5, 6, 10 years.
Temporary typically means 180 days within the building code. You can kind of play with that by removing it, reinstalling it.
Well, give them 6 months with extensions as needed too.
Well, the
up
problem
to-
is that we don't control if it's not temporary, you're on the health department.
And you're gonna have to put footings to secure the trailer, so during a hurricane that it's mounted properly.
For the wind uplift, you could put them down without, there's something that can,
Okay, so.
For a temporary purpose, or if it were, okay. All right,
So you can
I'm
work
comfortable
through
with
those
that.
issues
Right,
with
those
Brad. This has
technical
gotta be
issues
your
will work
best
through.
friend right now. Because we can't, Bob, these are not things that we control.
It's gonna be what it's gonna be.
All right, so you have to find a trailer for us immediately. So that, I don't know how you're gonna do that, so he can pass judgment. You have to amend the site plan to show the fire lane, the different crash gates. What other technical stuff, Brad, from your perspective?
I don't know, Greg, did you have anything else?
No, I mean, I just wanna, know, we're wrapping, I wanna clarify, so the board is okay if he does an 8-foot fence around here, 4-foot picket fence around the
Right.
easement area?
Yeah.
Obviously satisfying all the fire
I
marshal
can't say
comments.
picket, chain link, okay? I don't know what, chain link fence 4 foot high is,
Yeah,
we'll get a fence.
With a few
Picket
bushes.
fence, I want it to look halfway decent, Bob.
Yeah, with a few bushes,
Why
Bob.
can't we What's
Sean,
that?
if everybody else in the world can put up a 4-foot chain link fence around their property, why can't I not?
Well, yeah, they do, and what we do is we make them put plantings and bushes all around them.
So,
I mean, we do.
do we,
Doesn't the planning board make most of these fences get screened with plantings and bushes?
do
so
we
we're-
get insurance certificates, seeing as this is gonna be blocked
Oh, yeah, we
off
do
and
now.
it's gonna be,
Oh, we
What?
have it now, yeah, we have it now.
You have it now.
okay. Bob, so,
We do.
Good.
So we want something somewhat decorative. I can't imagine picket would be more expensive than chain link. I mean, it's not gonna last as long, but this is all temporary. You're gonna work through with Brad, the challenges with the temporary trailer. Greg, what else you got?
And that's pretty much it from my review standpoint.
Can we do this sort of administratively? Do we need a public hearing, or can we just do it administratively?
It's just a permitted use. It's under
So I don't- So I don't think we need a public hearing is what I'm hearing. So let's try to get this thing put in a way that it can be approved by the board for a resolution, but we need the updated drawings so we can see it, so we can attach it to the resolution. We're gonna work with you as quickly as possible and appreciate you working with us.
Okay.
Is there anything else we need to know about?
No.
Good luck finding the trailer.
It seems to be.
Are they off island or they're?
Everybody's busy right now. We
Yeah.
called I guess, a lot of contracting work going on, so we've been looking at mobile homes, we've been looking
Right.
at trailer homes, we've been looking at, I've found, the people in my office, they found great things, but they're out in Arizona,
Right.
Right.
That's a long road to tow with an
That's a
F-150.
long, it's a long haul. I mean, I'll even pull it if it's 200-300 miles with my truck, but we'll get it. We have no choice.
We need to know that before we can wrap this up.
Well, I can tell you, it's gonna be between 10 and 12 foot wide, and it's gonna be between 42 and 50 foot long. And and it's gonna be a construction trailer that more than likely 90% or a mobile home that's all over the place, and if they're selling them and they're putting them around, I'm sure they're gonna meet all the codes.
But you were talking about, making changes to this yourself to make it more beautiful inside. or-
The only change we have to do is if we can find one with a bathroom, part of what we have to provide for the performers are, we also have to provide a shower. And I've spoken to a number of guys, and they said, we can put it in, and it's gonna cost you, 10 grand, and I said, well, I can put one in myself probably for 2. And they said, well, if you wanna put it in, it's fine, we don't have a problem. So we just gotta provide a shower for them, and then we've gotta provide some other stuff, because apparently they're very demanding on what they want and how
Is there
they
a
want it.
shower now in your green room?
Yes, we have, that green room probably cost me almost $80,000. We have 2 bathrooms, shower,
Nice.
kitchen.
And you put all that into his building?
I put that all into that building, and we are losing that.
Yeah, how come you're losing that?
We're losing it because we're putting up that fence, and somebody can't walk, I think it's 23 feet.
I've tried to talk
23
to the
feet
principals,
further.
and they won't listen.
So-
They won't.
And I went over there to try to very nicely talk about it, and,
We tried to broker a deal. If anybody else that has any input with that law firm, we did try to broker a deal, and to no avail, which is what is costing, why this is happening.
yeah,
Steve
we've
Angel
already,
doesn't
we've
wanna do
already
anything.
probably spent $20,000 just for me to get here. We're not done yet. Not to mention the 80 grand, not to mention everything else, but I
If
went
we
over
can-
there,
it's-
what it's coming down to is, we're losing the green room, and the only way I can keep the green room is if I don't know what the right word is, give him, my understanding is give him all this property here so he can park. He doesn't wanna walk 23 feet. So the 70 people that work there, all this hard work and sacrifice, and the good that theater's done, is all potentially in jeopardy, and that's the story.
Does anybody know if back in 2006, when this easement was given, if it did, I mean, the parking district obviously had some say in this, correct? It wasn't just the town board as the parking district saying, give them the easement?
No, the parking,
Steve Angel.
it was a while ago, but my understanding is, we got that land to do the building, and then we got the easement to make a buffer zone for a drop-off area for the back of the theater.
Because I really have a problem just voting for a resolution without the parking district committee weighing in on this.
They showed
They
you
are
all of
business
that.
owners in town, and they're losing a lot of parking spaces, and I want it to be perfectly well known that, you know, this board didn't have anything to do with this easement, number one. Number two, that, you know, the parking district can at least weigh in on the improvements.
You see this?
Mm-hmm.
This was taken right about when we bought the theater. I counted approximately 140 parking spots back there. If I'm correct, there's about 20 cars.
Yeah, but I'm looking at the
You've got a
current one.
You've got a parking problem now because the theater is there.
No, understood.
That's why you've got a parking problem.
Understood, but I don't know if it was the original intention of the parking district to have this area fenced off to where the parking district could no longer access these parking spaces.
Jody, that ship
No,
has
Jody,
sailed.
there was supposed to be a building going back there, so
I
they knew
would like the
something
parking district to
was
weigh in.
going back
Should.
there when they did this easement. Because a building, the thing was, he was supposed to put a building up and apartments on top. That's what originally was supposed, so they knew that area was gonna be not used. The only thing the parking district can do now is look at the new design and add more in other areas, because they are losing this spaces, which, he let the parking district use until now.
Well, we own them.
Huh?
We own them, subject to his easement.
Yes.
So
it's
we can
his
continue
easement.
to use them until he tries to exercise his easement,
Right,
which
That's what she's trying to do now.
exercising now. So
Yeah.
we were completely within our rights to continue to use it.
yeah, no, I'm not
Well,
saying
that's
that,
what I'm saying.
But Jody, the parking district, the ship has sailed on the parking district's input because that easement is in place.
Okay, but what I'm saying is that the parking district still owns the property, and they gave the theater an easement to use it for the things that are specified in the easement agreement. And I am not seeing where it gives you the right to block the parking district,
Jody, with all
from
due
those
respect,
spots.
if I'm allowed to put fountains, benches, awnings, flowers, trees, that pretty much blocks the space.
well,
Jody, have a conversation with Bob Cos about
Okay.
the easement.
okay, well, I think it should be referred to the parking district, I'm sorry. Though, they're people
We
that
can refer the site
pay
plan to the
parking district taxes and should have some
We are
input
the
into
parking
it.
district.
Well, they did have input when it was done.
I'm talking about now, as far
Well,
as the aesthetics
I
of
think
it.
we're a little bit too late for them, they can't say no now, when the easement is already in place. I mean, that's,
And
you
we're
know,
the,
that's
we're the
something
parking
that you
district.
can't do.
Jody.
Understood, but we have a committee that volunteers their times, that's very passionate about the amount of parking spaces that we have and don't have downtown, and I think just to circumvent them is a slap in the face, and I
Well, we're
think that
not
they should weigh in.
They already did vote on this, they were not circumventing
Not
them.
recently, not with this proposal, with fencing off that area.
We can refer the application
I don't
for
know.
them to take a look at it.
They'll
but we
see
have
it
to
at the
vote.
next parking meeting,
When is the next parking meeting?
the end of August, August 24th, I think, but we're gonna have to change that date anyway, it's a live on 25 date.
Yeah, I think if it could be moved up to accommodate Mr. Castaldi, I would really like to see what the parking district has to say, at least about the aesthetics, because we claim to know a lot, but, you know,
Aesthetically,
some
it's
of
not
us
gonna look
are
good.
owners and
Well,
pay
the
taxes
parking-
into the
they
parking
go
district, and
anywhere.
some don't, so I would really like
You
the
don't
committee to
want to
weigh
lose
in.
spaces.
I can
mean,
solve the
if you
aesthetics.
need
You
more
know what
space-
they're gonna say, they're gonna say no.
If you need more spaces back there, try restriping back there.
Well-
You'll pick up a tremendous
We're looking at that,
amount of
you're looking at
spaces.
that, right, Tim?
There's a whole
Tremendous.
plan in place for that.
Let's,
All right.
we're gonna wrap this up. You're gonna have to submit some additional information to us, obviously, before we can move this forward. We
I
will try to
mean,
do this
what am I in circles
administratively,
here?
if we will, by resolution, because it is temporary. But you have a lot of homework to do to get the trailer specs to us and put that on the site plan. So talk to your engineers or architects about the fire lane, different crash gates, and let's try to move it forward as quickly as we can.
I'll have the drawing for you tomorrow.
And why are they
Right.
making you tie direct into the trunk line for the sewer? Why can't you just tie into your existing sewer line that comes out of the theater?
Because there are no sewer lines back there.
So where's the sewer line,
They're in
goes
the
out
front,
onto Main
right,
Street?
on Main Street?
Well, we have no sewer line whatsoever from, our sewer line is the first 40 feet of the building.
Mm-hmm.
The next 110 feet, that's the seating area. There's no plumbing back there whatsoever. We have one water line that comes back to the corner, which we're gonna tie into the trailer.
Good.
We've got all the electric in the world back there, which we're gonna tie into the trailer for the air conditioning and heating. And then we'll deal with the sewer one way or another.
Yeah,
Either
because
pump
that
in-
just seems like that's gonna cost you $50,000-$60,000 just to tie into that sewer back there. And then you're gonna be
I hope you're
paying,
wrong.
and then, yeah.
All right, well, we have some, you
Okay.
guys have some work to do. Thank you.
Yep, thank you very
Look
much.
forward to seeing the next rendition.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks.
All right.
Actually,
Yes,
Dillingham, Brad, you're still here. Drew here? Drew, come on up. Let's talk about street lighting standards.
Street lighting standards.
Mr. Dillingham, how are you?
Good, how are you guys?
Very good.
How was that hurricane preparedness training? Do you feel like a meteorologist
I'm
now?
certified.
Did you pass the test?
I passed the test.
Certifiable?
Certifiable and certified.
Certified. You are certified, all right. Wait, I need one more, the young lady at the end, yeah.
When's your
Okay.
stormwater report due?
You'll be absent that day.
I'm planning vacation, whenever it is, it doesn't matter.
Always the last week in May,
Okay.
always the
Mark
last week
that
in
on my
May.
calendar right now.
What do we got here
And you
for
think,
a
Mark
so
it
you
on my
think
calendar,
this is
so I'm
gonna
not
be
here for
exciting?
it.
You think this is gonna be exciting?
This has gotta be a little better
No,
than.
it's not
Really?
even close.
Pat, what are we doing
Drew.
here?
It's not even close.
We're talking about the dark skies again? I see you have the lanterns here.
Kinda and kinda not. Okay, so-
Indirectly.
So what we did was develop or update the electrical specs for sub-development lighting. Because right now, it's, the old lights that we're taking down and replacing. So what there'll be is, LEDs, 48 or 83, depending on,
It's not, it hasn't been drafted yet.
This is for the subdivisions and new shopping centers and everything?
correct.
Okay.
This is not for typical commercial, this is just for subdivisions.
Okay.
Spacing has been reduced from 150 to 60. The mounting heights are 12 feet, they used to be 16.
And these are because the LEDs are not as bright?
Correct. Other than that,
Now, there's two,
There's not much
which
to say.
LEDs do you recommend them use?
Underground?
oh yeah, I have one add, what's that?
Which LEDs do you recommend? There's two different brightnesses of them?
Yeah, that's all gonna depend on the lighting plan, when I get the lighting plan, and then I review it against the town code for, luminescence on parking lots and, sidewalks. So if it's too high, they gotta cut it down. That's it.
I would,
Go to zoning
I would
board.
go with the lightest one first.
So this does not have to be codified, because in the town code, under chapter 301 zoning and land development, article, 64, exterior lighting,
64?
yeah, whatever that is.
49.
Oh.
49.
Yes, the last one.
Yeah, and then go to page 5 of 7. 301-261C. The engineering division shall make a determination for the type of light distribution, the height, and lumen value of the light source for each location based on the manufacturer's supplied photometric information. So what code is saying is that engineering department could pretty much specify whatever we deem is appropriate, which we've done on these new specs.
So you're gonna have the specs available to anybody that is doing a
They
subdivision?
go in all building packages.
Okay.
There is a, well, this is just for major subdivisions where you have road improvements. This is not,
Old Orchard on Youngs Avenue, for example, they're calling for lighting specs, and we held off on purpose because what we have now is so antiquated, and Julie had already started the new one, so.
there will be a code amendment, not in the exterior lighting, but within the subdivision regulations.
Right.
There's a.
301-289.
Right, it talks about how the light shall be spaced between 150 feet
It still
apart.
refers to high-pressure sodium. Julie, would there be energy saving also with this?
Wait a minute. 301 dash what?
It's not in that, it's not in Article 49, it's in the subdivision regulations.
Okay.
That will have to be
Site plan.
amended.
But
It's in there, too.
do we want to, as opposed to amending it, I know I'm apologizing on the language before you and wasn't fully prepared for this. Rather than codify this, I'm going to put something together that basically says,
Policy set, and you can,
see the engineering department for the.
Yeah, we'll take out what the existing standards are, the same language, and so it's consistent.
I think that's
In that
fair,
packet.
because otherwise you have to do a public hearing every time you wanna
Right.
change the,
Right,
the,
and that'll be a pain.
Yep.
So Julie, the LEDs will be more cost savings than the high-pressure sodium?
Yes.
of course. I mean, you could even have the town board adopt it as a resolution, the policy, if you felt like you needed that, but if you're comfortable the way it is now, that's fine.
I could put it as a clause within the resolution, makes sense, and attach it to here saying in an effort to save costs for the, energy costs for the long term. That's why we're passing the resolution.
Yeah, I mean, if the town engineer's not comfortable doing just the policy, we could adopt the policy.
I'm fine with,
Okay, then leave it that way.
yeah,
Yeah, leave it with the town engineer.
That's fine. That's it?
that's it.
Fantastic, all right, so.
Painless, I'm telling you.
The one last thing,
Well, that was fast.
the one last
Way
thing
better
that,
than stormwater.
I just want to put out. Not sure that the board knows about this, as part of the, when we had the Civic Association roundtables, some of the ladies from the Manufactured Homeowners Association said that the governor's office previously had sponsored the citizen preparedness training programs for hurricanes. Specifically, they were giving out like backpacks with
I went to
goodies.
it, it was at the Jamesport Meeting House.
Oh, no, not this again.
They did.
So, we
They
are
gave out nice
sponsoring that
backpacks.
again.
Yeah, I know, it's a big, like a fad.
Yeah, well, we're sponsoring again. It's the Citizen Preparedness Corp Training Program. It's Monday, August 14th at 6 PM. Town of Riverhead, right here in the town hall. All participants must register in advance with the state. So you have to go to www.prepare.newyork.gov. So that's www.prepare.ny.gov. You have to register, but it's a very well-received program, and
Can
we
you get backpacks?
anticipate
We
it
should probably have
Get
somebody,
backpacks.
full.
we should probably have somebody tape it, Sean, because, and
Yeah,
put
we
it
can
on
do
Channel
that.
22. Because it was really very informative, and I got one of the backpacks, and it has like a heat blanket in there. It's like the aluminum like blanket if it's
Yeah.
freezing to put over. It has water bottles, it has, medication bottles, so that, empty of course, so that it just tells you. It has ice packs, it has, first aid kit, it has everything in it that you need, that you just grab the backpack if there's an emergency, and everything should be in there, ready to go.
Big
So,
enough for hiking if you want it for hiking?
Hey.
yeah,
I can-
absolutely, absolutely. I take it into
The
the
only,
city with me all
the
the time.
registration,
That's a pre-made tuna sandwich.
okay.
registration is gonna be limited
No, but it does have the,
There's so many
big
people.
to the capacity of this room,
astronaut.
which
The
is
astronaut
about
food, it does have that in
119,
it.
so we told them
Wow.
100, so registration is
Why
gonna be
don't,
limited, so if you
you
don't register now, and you don't, and you can't, and it's locked full, we can't exceed the 119 of this room, so that's the capacity.
You couldn't use the firehouse. For
We
this.
did it here, and if they get to a point where,
They only have so many backpacks too,
Okay.
though, so.
yeah,
The other thing is, I'm worried about senior citizens who
But
do
I
not
think
have
I don't doubt they
computers.
have 1,000.
If they wanna register, there's no phone number
Maybe.
or anything other than the computer for them to register.
that's done through New York State. If there's a senior that wants to register, they can contact my office and we will register them.
Okay.
727-3200,
Okay,
extension 251.
okay.
I'm thinking the seniors are gonna figure out how to register because the Manufactured Homeowners Association was very enthusiastic about they just called it the backpack program. So,
They want
they're
the
very
free-
enthusiastic
They want those
about
free
it.
backpacks
They want
like,
those free backpacks, so I'll leave
Jody
some
got last time.
brochures here. I know the press has covered this. Can I get a motion to go into executive
I
session?
make a motion, we close the town board work session and go into executive session
Yeah.
for employment and litigation.
I have a little good news on the TMDL front.
All right, hold on.
All right.
Seconded, all in favor? Aye,
Aye.
opposed, abstentions, motion carries. We go into executive session. What's the,
Okay,
Okay,
so,
oh, we're in exec, but go ahead.
and so-
Go ahead.